Good morning, all. It's Thursday, July 14th. Welcome to an open door, first of all. It's a very, as Cindy said, a lazy days of summer here. So come on in and take your favorite seat and get your glass of water or whatever it is that you want to have by your side. And let's spend the next hour together looking at lesson 109, I rest in God. Lesson 109. In the purple book, it's on page 1149.
So my purple book was completely closed, and I literally opened the book to lesson 109 just now. I just opened it and it opened right there. Wow.
So I would just say that what Lonnie just shared was for all of us. It just happened to happen through the avatar of Lonnie, but all of us can rest in knowing that that just happened. Thank you, Lonnie. More and more and more, the deepening of knowing that, as Cindy likes to say, God's got this, is making itself known in this limited awareness that is called Amy. And I would guess that's probably happening for all of us. Welcome for those of us who are coming in. Once again, we're on lesson 109, and Lonnie just opened her closed book right to that page. It's page 1149, and the lesson is I rest in God.
And while they're coming, it's that of all the pages in this book, thousands of pages for it to open to. The divine just said, pop. Oh
All
gosh.
miracles, all
Mm.
miracles are the same. There is no order of magnitude, right? And so, can all of us feel the love that, like, Lonnie just had love affirmed for her, and that's affirmed for all of us. No separation. So, don't feel separate from Lonnie's joy, from that sort of moment, that holy instant that Lonnie just shared with us, right? Because there's only one of us here, right? Only one of us here. I'm going to put the lesson in the chat. Hopefully, those of us, those who are joining a little bit late, I don't want to have to keep repeating myself. Lesson 109, page 1149 in the purple book. Now, what I want to say about this lesson, as is true of so much of A Course in Miracles, which as we go through it together, we're finding that just like the guides, the words of A Course are embodied by our awareness in a multitude of ways. The first reading of this lesson, I rest in God, I said, okay, I'm going to do this lesson. And I'm just going to go and sit in a quiet room by myself and I'm going to rest in God. Right? And that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to zone out and I'm going to not let anything disturb my peace. And that's the lesson. And so I thought, I sat for 10 minutes or a half an hour or sometimes even an hour just resting in God. And I thought, I really get this lesson. But just like so much of non-dual teachings, we talked about this last Thursday, and Lonnie, once again, was in a way center stage for this this pointing was that first we turn inward in the non-dual tradition. We go in and realize that nothing out there is true. It isn't me. And we ask ourselves the question, who am I? What am I? And this question, I rest in God, begs us to be willing to ask, do I deserve to know myself? That's one of the most powerful questions we can ask. Do I deserve to know myself? And the answer when I asked it was a resounding yes. And there's a little bit of, I don't want to call it anger, but a little bit of because I have such rebel energy, there was like this rebel in there, like, yes, yes, I deserve to know. And that was actually a force of will of I am capable of knowing myself. I was not put here by a loving God to not know myself. So let me ask, who am I? What am I? And thus begins the journey going inward. And we ask, am I this? Am I that? No. Am I the tree? No. Am I the desk? No. Am I the glass of water? No. Am I the other person, the other personality? No. What am I? I am. I don't know. I don't know what I am. I don't know what I am. Wow, is that scary? I don't know what I am. Holy moly, I don't really know. I'm not these feelings. I'm not these thoughts. I'm nothing out in the external world. Nothing I see on the street means anything. Nothing I think means anything. I don't know what I am. And thus we cross the field of fear. And everyone has to cross this field. It's the field of death. It's the death of the personal self. It's the willingness to say, I don't know. But I do know that I am. Can I rest in that certainty? I am. Yes, yes, I can. I can rest in the certainty that I know I am. And then I recognize that is exactly what God called itself to Moses. I am that I am. Was it Moses or was it Abraham? I don't even remember who it was. Cindy would know.
Moses.
Thank you. I am that I am. I am that I am. And that is what I rest in. I rest in the I am. And the personality self will say, you can't do that. You aren't that. You have to do something in order to rest in that. So when I say to myself, when I read this lesson, I rest in God, I think, oh, I have to do something to rest in God. No. I don't have to do anything to rest in God. Just be. So this morning, what I'd like to do is read a few of the sentences in this lesson that really pull me out, and then do a personal experience I'd like to share with you about this. Because if there's one thing that I want to communicate this morning, is that these lessons, as the guides are telling us over and over again, are known through experience. They are known with certainty through experience. And they are known through the experience of resting in God. In all situations, in every circumstance, no exceptions. And resting in God takes many forms, innumerable forms, right? And there's one common denominator in each and every one of those seeming forms. And that is just the choice point, the willingness to rest in God. That's a choice point right there. I rest in God. So let's see what this lesson says. Jean Klein, I'm sorry, I'm turning on my light here. Jean Klein, a famous non-dual teacher, Francis Lucille's teacher, said, "Silence is our natural state." So when we're resting in the silence, we're returning to the natural state. So what does this lesson say? It says, we ask for rest today, and quietness unshaken by the world's appearances. We ask for peace and stillness in the midst of all the turmoil born of clashing dreams. We ask for safety and for happiness, although we seem to look on danger and on sorrow. And we have the thought that will answer our asking with what we request. And that thought is, I rest in God. This thought will bring you to the rest and peace and quiet and stillness and the safety and happiness you seek. When we say that to ourselves, I rest in God, do we not notice a shift in our frequency? Right? Do we not notice the quietness that seems to descend upon us, and yet it really just arises from within? Is that single experience not enough to convince you of the truth of this? But no, we forget. So we need to be reminded. This thought has the power to wake the sleeping truth in you, whose vision sees beyond appearances to that same truth in everyone and everything there is. Here is the end of suffering for all the world and everyone who ever came and yet will come to linger for a while. Here is the thought in which the Son of God is born again to recognize himself. And every time we choose the thought, I rest in God, we are born again. Oh, how I never thought I would say those words, ever. I am not a born-againer. I am not one of those. And yet, is it not true that in every single moment that we recognize the truth, we are reawakened, reborn, re-enlivened, rediscovered, renewed, refreshed? I rest in God, completely undismayed. This thought will carry you through storms and strife, past misery and pain, past loss and death, and onward to the certainty of God. There is only one certainty that I can know, and that is that I am. I am. I don't know what I am, but I know I am. And I know that that is God's name. I am. That is what God called itself. I am. And how naturally and truthfully and with such certainty that I know the same thing about myself. And so I know I am God's being. That is the only thing I know. There is no suffering it cannot heal. There is no problem which it cannot solve, and no appearance but will turn to truth before the eyes of you who rest in God. So here's my story, very brief. And I'm sharing this with you in the hope that it will spark some remembrance of something, either that you have experienced or that you will experience today or tomorrow. It's a story about shame, and it's a story about feeling unloved and undeserving. So some of you know that I have grandchildren through my stepdaughter, but I call her my daughter often anyway. And because this group is so important to me, so important, I make time every single day, sometimes twice a day, to be here. That's my schedule. Now I have girlfriends and groups that spontaneously say, let's go get ice cream, or let's go to this garden, or let's go do this. And sometimes I go, but most of the time I choose to stay here. Because I love those women, but I can't talk to them about this. And this is the most important thing. It is the most important thing. It is my devotion, and I am nothing without this devotion. Every moment that I spend in this devotion with all of you brings light to them, even though I may not be in their company and they may not see it. And so yesterday, my husband says to me spontaneously, I've checked to see if one of our granddaughters can come over today. And I thought, okay, but I have a meeting tomorrow at 11:30, and then I have another meeting that I really want to do at 3. And what I felt when I said that to him was, I'm selfish. I don't love my grandchildren enough. I am missing out because I'm choosing something selfishly for me. That thought and that feeling arose in my mind. And I recognized it, But I thought to myself, well, I made this schedule already, and he's kind of springing this on me just when I walked in to say hello to him. So, I don't have to feel guilty about that. And I intellectualized it, but I still felt it. And he said, well, I don't know if it's really going to happen. I'm not sure if it's going to happen. It might. And so I went, well, okay, let's just see what happens. So the day goes on and we meet at 11:30, and at 12:30 or 1 o'clock, I decide I've looked at this lesson. I rest in God because I'm preparing for today. I rest in God, I rest in God. And I've thought about it. And I open up the front door to go out, and there's Skyla, my beautiful granddaughter, walking up the steps with a sandwich in her hand. My husband has gone to get her, and they're there for lunch. And I'm just heading out. And I think, I'm I'm going to keep going because I made this commitment to myself, and I want to be back by 3 so that I can listen to the guides. And I got in the car and I drive, and I notice this feeling of shame and guilt and fear. I am afraid because I have chosen not to spend time with my granddaughter and my husband, and that makes me feel like I'm not a part of the group and that I'm on the outside. And I say, okay, all right. Is that true? And then I think, you never do this and you hate yourself for not making more of an effort to spend more time with other people. And you're always going to be on the outside because you're so committed to this schedule. And I watch the shame and the guilt and the fear come up. And I said, okay, I rest in God. I rest in God. And then Cindy's voice comes to me and she says, well, is this something that God can't handle? This fear and this shame and this situation? Is this something that God can't handle? No, nothing. Everything arises in God. So I have to trust that. So then I ask myself, is this fear and shame part of God's plan? No. Is it true? No, no. It was only in that pause, that space of resting in God, that I thought to ask the question, is shame and guilt true about you? No, it's not. And so when I rest in God, not only am I going to the quiet space, but it's also opening time for me for inquiry. Is this true? Is this shame and guilt true? No. And boy, this explosion happened. And you all know this. You've known it for a while, but every time it happens for me, it's like a new learning. What a fucking joke is guilt and shame. It is useless. It is a barrier to God's love. And I learned it all over again. Anytime guilt or shame arises, I am not resting in God. I am not seeing the truth. So take a pause and rest in God, in Source, in the knowing. Then I asked, because of course I went from attacking myself into attacking my husband. He did this to me. He made the choice. He didn't even ask me if I wanted a sandwich too. He just went and got food for Skyla and himself, and he didn't even ask me if I wanted to be included. Is that true? No, no. And when I rested in that knowing, it was as though the clouds in a sky just moved aside and the sun came out. And peace, the storms and the strife went away. And the peace and seeing the truth of it was renewed in my heart again. And so I thought, okay, what happens now? I rest in God and see what happens. I rest in God and see what happens. And I keep resting in God and seeing what happens. The only time that there is an Amy, a personal mind, is when the personal mind thinks she has something to complain about or fear or be ashamed of. Otherwise, there is resting in God and allowing what happens to happen. And that's why this lesson is so simple and so deep, because the more we rest in God, the more we take that moment, that pivot point, and choose to rest in God and see what happens, the more is revealed to us as the I am, as God's being. And Cindy's been saying over and over again, she wants it all revealed. And I do too. And I think all of us want it all revealed. And it can only be revealed when we rest in God. So you rest in the peace of God today and call upon your brothers. I'm reading from paragraph 9. You rest within. I am in God. I am with God. I am of God. I am as God's being. And I rest within the peace of God today, and I call upon my brothers from your rest, from my rest, to draw them to their rest along with me. You will be faithful to your trust today, forgetting no one, bringing everyone into the boundless circle of your peace, the holy sanctuary where you rest. Open the temple doors and let them come from far across the world and near as well, your distant brothers and your sisters, and all beings, and your closest friends, and bid them all enter here and rest with you. That's what I got today. What most stays with me in this experience of knowing is how powerful shame and guilt have been embedded in this personality. And that is especially true for, I am not saying that there is any corner hold on any of this, but I think as a female, we are really given a great gift of shame. Bodily shame, not being enough, not being a people pleaser, not thinking of others enough, not being a good enough mother or a grandmother or a daughter or a partner. We are so taught to put others ahead of ourselves and to feel guilt and shame if we don't. And one of the things that really helped me yesterday was recognizing that guilt and shame are not what I am, and that is not true about me. And that when I say no to the guilt and shame, no, that is not what I am. I take that off my shoulders. I am not guilty or shameful for choosing my own path, for being who I want to be in the moment, as long as I'm not hurting anyone else. If I'm just being true to my own self, there's no guilt and no shame in that. How can I be a light to anyone else if I'm not willing to let go of my guilt and my shame and stand in the full light of who I am and say, I'm going to go run my errand right now because I want to get back and be with my family, my other family, my true family. Not that anyone else isn't true family. We're all true family. And I want to feed my soul because this world's not going to feed my soul. And I love my girlfriends, but they don't want to talk about this. So I rest in God. I rest as God's being. Thank you all. What was it that Kyle Cease said? He says to other people that he loves, he says, I love you. Be you. Right? I love you. Be you. So that's what this lesson is saying too. God is saying to us, I love you. Be you. Cindy.
Mostly all I have is love and gratitude. Thank you. I'm mesmerized. Um, and I was starting to listen to Richard Lang for Thursday, and part of this conversation was the importance of being in community with people that you can, I don't know, something about probability, like accepting the possibility and the probability of experience, and how choosing and allowing community with those that can discuss the truth allows the probability to come into one's awareness. And the guides teach, it can be so, it will be so, it is so. First, it must be a possibility in your awareness. So our coming together and sharing both the conceptual understanding of these teachings as well as the experience in a space like this, to me, it's the greatest gift. I feel very abundant and filled with love. I had an experience last night. It wasn't guilt and shame, or at least I don't know that it was, but it feels so similar to what you just said, and I'll take just a minute. The body didn't feel well last night, and it was such an interesting experience. It was just off. And there was this sense of it not being able to relax enough to sleep. Like it just felt out of whack, a little inflamed. Like I don't even want to put worldly terms to it. But I did attempt to lay down and it wasn't happening. And I got out of bed and made myself some tea. And I sat in that same my version, I guess, of this experience you just described, this understanding that there's no separation between me and God, right? And so, without it needing to, like, literally, I had Lisa Natoli, I'm having all these gorgeous voices in my head, right? Depending on where I am. But Lisa, among other things, likes to talk about welcoming the current moment. Like, if it never changes, I know, like, the way the story goes, Rupert said it when Bill was there, and then Bill said it to Lisa right at this moment where Lisa felt, from a physical standpoint, like she was going to die. And the question was, if this never changes, can you be with the experience of it? Can you welcome it fully? And I was sitting last night, it was less than an hour, on the couch, quite comfortable in my discomfort, recognizing that in truth, everything is God. And so this experience too is God. And if it never changed, could I stop telling stories about it? Could I stop just for this minute justifying and defending and wanting it to be different and just be with it? And it was so interesting watching the inner workings attempt to fight it. And then it just stopped fighting it. And I just sat and drank my tea and allowed it to do what it was going to do in God, as God, with God. The mind wasn't even active. Like the mind just didn't even have anything to say about it. And after a while, I went to bed with one of these yoga nidra meditations, and 6 hours later, I was back being Cindy again. It was an extraordinary experience, and it feels like it's the same pointing that you just described. Like there's nothing that isn't God. There's no physical sensation. There's no story. There's no experience. There's no attack or defense. Everything is arising in, as, and with, and as an opportunity to do the work you just so beautifully described. So I love us all so very much. And that's what I wanted to add, or that seems to be what wanted to be added to the conversation.
Thank you. William, good morning.
Good morning. Boy, I tell you, you sure spoke for me. Good grief. Everything that you were saying about as you greeted your granddaughter and the choice points. Because what I see is I sell out, I abandon William. But it's kind of a curious way. I'm not resting. I love what you said that when you're feeling guilt, less than truthful, I'm not resting with the truth or with God. I'm resting with William. I'm hiding with William. And I'm abandoning the higher self. It just feels so. And so this morning, I just thought about Viktor Frankl. I thought about the prisoners that are being reached by people sharing goodwill, the three principles, love, understanding. What is it like when I have such a negative conversation going and someone greets me with love and kindness? Oh, wait a minute, who are they looking at? Don't they see who I am? And I love that headless way. No, because I'm just seeing, even like with my wife, it's like I ride on the backs of other people who are so having the certainty and the courage to walk their truth and to speak their truth. And here I am hiding out at times, and I draw so much strength and courage, but really I'm seeing more and more. There's that part of me that's born again. It is, it is. I just am so used to hiding. I don't give it credibility, or I don't allow it to be. I'm so busy. So Amy, you just said so many things that I go through and I sell out. I sell out. How can I be more, look for other people, don't be so self-centered. You just think all that, all that, all that. So I just say, thank you for speaking for me, but it's a reminder to stand up for who I am. And you did such a great job. I just love it. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, William. Hmm. Miss Lonnie, what you got?
Good morning, family. You know, this whole morning is kind of electrified for this being right now. Um, Even the start of this lesson, what was it? We ask for rest today and quietness unshaken by the world's appearances. We were literally talking about it before we even came on the call. These eyes were opened at 4 a.m. this morning. And of course, after the bathroom break, it was okay, let's go back to sleep. And the eyes wouldn't close. And so the question came, well, what's going on? And then I started listening and I noticed there was this kind of like grinding of, I'm going to say it was a giant hook of fear that dropped in the middle of my pond. There's mold growing in the house. We know exactly where it is and it's growing. And if you don't do something about it and blah, 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 blah. And I'm watching this go like this and literally watching it. And I'm watching, I'm saying there was watching because there was always this noticing of extreme silence in the system, which has been noticed for a while. And there's been practice going on with just this hum sound. So as this is going on, I'm noticing that this is going on in one part, but that hum is there. And it was like standing at a crossroad. Do I attend to all of that jibber jabber, jibber jabber, jibber jabber? Or do I just pay attention to the hum? I paid attention to the hum. And in the encouragement of the practicing with it has been to allow it to get louder than the noise, which means go closer to it.
Hmm.
And then before I knew it, there was this complete silence again. And I was up getting dressed, getting myself ready for the day. And it's 6:30 in the morning. I'm going out. I'm going to the bank. It's fucking 6:30 in the morning. Came out of the room and very clearly there was a clear directive to walk to the room where the mold is, which was done. And then it was, this mold is of God. Everything in this house, in this world is of God. It doesn't mean that there's nothing that needs to be attended to, but in this moment, can I turn this over and let it go? Which was a big yes. And I turned around and walked out the house. All bubbled up, all filled up with joy. And I'm driving down this one block, and there's always these church people who sit out on the side of the road, you know, by the park areas. I drive past them, and one of them is waving at me like this. I was like, oh, wow. About an hour later, I drove past them again, and I heard, when we pass again, you will stop. Which we passed again, and I stopped to celebrate the service that they were doing. That's what it was said. To acknowledge that we see them, that God sees them. Turned out that it was my next door neighbor. We pulled up to say all of this, and it was all being said, and she turned around, and there she was. And it was just like overwhelming joy because in the 10 years we've been here, I don't think either of us have really stood in the full acknowledgement that we meet in God. In that moment, that was so. So then to come back home into this meeting, and here is this right here. Yeah, it's all lit up. We got disco lights going on in this experience right now. Disco lights. All is God. Even the mold in my house.
That's right.
Thank y'all.
That's right. Doesn't mean it has to be there, but it's alive, you know?
And that I tell the story was being told of it's gonna kill my nephew and it's gonna be all your fault and all that. Yeah, all that shit right there just kind of dwindled down the drain. So
All that shit right there. That's right. Indigo. And then Alice. Good morning, Indigo.
Hi, everyone. So happy to be here. Um, it's been actually challenging for me today. Um, I have an aide now, and Indigo's not happy with that. She doesn't need an aide. She's recovered, and she's not happy. And I was in so much rage and anger. I couldn't go to, I had to like I couldn't go in my apartment. I couldn't. I was in so much rage. And it took me, and I still couldn't go. I was just in so much rage. And then actually it was my neighbor, my neighbor, he speaks French and I speak French. I went to Switzerland and I learned French. So he just spoke some French to me, and I was like so happy to hear it, and it just inspired me. And then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go back. um, but I'm just saying that it's okay for me to be in the rage, or it's okay for me to be where I am. I mean, I don't have to act out on it. I can look at it. I don't have to be it. I can look at it and go, okay, I really don't like this. But you know what? I'm starting to see it differently now. I'm starting to see it as it's it's just part of the world. It has nothing to do with me. It's just part of the world. And I'm like, oh, it's just like Trump or any other something that Indigo doesn't like. It's okay, but that's here for me. I don't have to stop it. I don't have to do anything. I can welcome it because it's here for me. If it's in my face or if it's here, it's for me. It's for me. God brought it to me. I'm gonna welcome it. Even in dislike, I'm gonna welcome it. And so yeah, it's so great just to just hear this and to get the courage to just go, okay, I, I'm I'm not. I'm gonna welcome it. I don't need to, I can welcome it. I can learn. God will show me what to do. So, and I'm just so grateful to be here with all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. It's hard to not take that anger personally. And but when you say it's for me, I know you don't mean that it's for me personally. You mean it's arising in this awareness. It's for this awareness to Who knows? I don't know what anything means. I don't know what it means. But maybe it's an opportunity for me to feel the movement, feel the power of it, see um, the strength of the wave, of the flow, and then say, watch it go, watch it go. Wow, what an experience. It's just an experience. Boy, it takes experiencing that over and over and over and over again. And Indigo, every time you bring this up, every time you bring this teaching to us, it's always like it's the first time you learned it. And it retains the original enthusiasm, the original sense of it as a gift, the original awakening and awareness of it. And that is true for us every time, every single time, for all of us. Oh, I forgot. I forgot. Okay, I'm with you now. I rest in God. I'm with you now. You know, that's okay. That's okay. Thank you for that, Indigo. Thank you. Alice, good morning. You're going to close us out.
Good morning. Yeah. Okay. Um, to reflect on the beginning of your discussion with us, Amy, about commitment to this group or commitment to this um, way of being or knowing. Um, and it just rang really clear for me is that I'm so grateful that I found this group and that I did my shifting around to be committed and to get on the train or get on, Um, and I felt like, oh, it was my consent to divine guidance. Just, like that was it, that choice, that to, get taken the ticket. Um, and there's an old quote from somebody about divine guidance awaits my consent. And um and so I just feel that strongly. And and this lesson keeps flashing to me like, where am I? Like if my question is, who am I is um, a big, of course, a big important one, but it's like, where am I? And I think from the guides, it's like repetitive. You're in God, you're as God, you're of God. There's there's nowhere we say there's nowhere God is not, and it's like it's all that. I mean, the concepts of oneness and total connection are wow, I think so as and it I just went through a crazy little experiment, I guess, experience about the mundane matter of getting an estimate for the the HVAC in my condo where my daughter lives. So my parenthood got all in there about bad mother, doesn't take care of mechanical issues. I don't know. She doesn't feel that way. I was me and my guilt and shame about motherhood, which somehow is um, some depth within me, um, and that the and with Richard is Richard here about when I read Hawkins that shame and guilt were the bottom of the flipping barrel, and there was such low frequency. It was like, of course they are, even enlightenment's 1,000, shame is 5. It's like what, so anyway, I in this HVAC thing, and I was anxious, and I was all messy, and I was like, I had thoughts of like, I'm not good enough to get an estimate from the HVAC guy. Like he's not going to give it to me because I'm unworthy, because it was delayed, because it was a little bit complicated. He needed to look at options, blah, blah, blah. So I just thanks for the healing. Thanks for I think for me to be in a trusted group is just fulfilling. And and I think it's all this, no, I'm letting go of my sister. Um she's at an ICU, but she's not stable. Her husband is, they may go together, and that would be perfection. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's some design. It's perfection because they were a loving, a truly loving couple. And I love both of them, so it's like feels like a double whammy, but it's not about me and my mess. Um, so I hope that's a closing. But where am I? I am in God. I am of God. I am as God.
Thank you, Alice. Thank you. Yeah. We're holding you, and we're certainly with you in this journey that you're taking with your sister and your brother-in-law. There's a place in the lessons of a course where it says, and Cindy, you or someone might recognize this, Richard might recognize it, where it says, it advises you when you find yourself in a space of disharmony, however that is expressing, to say, oh, I must have chosen wrongly. Help me to choose again. Help me to blah, blah, blah. Sandra's shaking her head. Cindy's looking for it. And when I first read that, I thought, God, that's a lot of friggin' words. I can't do that. I'm not going to sit there every single time I feel in disharmony and go, oh, I must have chosen wrongly. And yet, that is exactly what I did. I am feeling guilty. There's guilt in this. There's a lot of guilt here and a lot of shame. Yeah. Um, oh, I must have chosen wrongly. I chose wrongly
Would
because
you like
any time there's guilt and shame, I must be choosing wrongly, right? Yeah. And Sandra hasn't spoken, so Sandra and then Cindy.
I didn't hear you. Okay. I just wanted to say that a long time ago, it was revealed to me that the work that I was doing, the time I was spending with all of you was not for me. And in this lesson, it so beautifully points out that every 5 minutes you spend resting in God, you are changing the world. And I I can tell you that I never, ever, ever feel guilty about putting this first because I know that that is the best thing I can do for my children, my grandchildren, my husband. It's not spending time with them. It is working on the truth of being that then emanates for them. And so that's all I wanted to say. Oh, also at the very end of this lesson, it points to Cameo 31, the priestess. And if anyone hasn't read that, I read that this morning. It's fascinating and lovely and really points to that truth that this is not for us as individuals.
Thank you. Yeah, the cameos, we should just do a whole thing on some of the cameos. Not all of them are really great, but some of them are really instructive, aren't they? Thank you for that, Sandra. Thank you for that pointing. And now, Cindy, end of chapter 5. What page, Cindy?
229 in the purple book. And the reason I know this is because I heard this prayer for the first time in Living in Purpose way back when. And it created like a reverberation in me because I believe so much in guilt. And then I lost it. And then months later, I went looking and I couldn't find it. And I asked everybody. I still remember asking Deb, I couldn't find it. And then I found it and I lost it. And I found it and I lost it. So I had to memorize where in the book it was because the egoic mind system hates this prayer. I must have
Yes.
decided wrongly because I'm not at peace. I made the decision myself, but I can decide otherwise. I will to decide otherwise because I want to be at peace. I do not feel guilty. That's the line, because the Holy Spirit will undo all the consequences of my wrong decision if I will to let him. I will to let him by allowing him to decide for God for me. And everything up to that point just talks about how insane it is to hold on to guilt. And and shame is part of the same thing. How insane it is, because guilt implies that the past is real, and it's not. And
Guilt implies that I am something that I'm not,
yeah,
and that everyone around you is something that they are not. And thank you for finding that, Cindy. Um, Rest in God today. Right? Rest in God. And if you find that you can't rest in God, give your unrest to Source. Just give it. Give whatever comes up. There are no mistakes. And we're going to meet back here at what, less than an hour now.
yeah. With Nadego as our lead.
Okay. All right. I love us. Thank you so much. It was a lovely hour.
Love
Mwah.
us, I do.
Okay. Thank you, Cindy.